Okay, so now we're gonna work on just the basic functions of a training sheet. So exercises here, so I'm gonna go back to sheet here. So we're gonna go into categories, and we are gonna use data validation. So I wanna make sure I select data tab. Find this little box here that says data validation. I'm gonna switch this to list, and I wanna equal, and I'm gonna type in categories. And this is going to reference this table. So whatever you put in here is gonna show up here, just to give you an idea. So I'm gonna go over here and type in clean. So if I did this, so when you have a category again, you have to add another table with 2 columns. Define the first column as the name up here, then you can select both and define it as the same name but with an underscore in front. Just so you can see it works. So I come back here, now you see it there. I'm gonna go cell below it, I'm gonna do the same thing instead of copying and pasting, because if I copy and paste, I'm gonna add borders around it, and I don't want to go through the mess of doing undoing a border. Doesn't take much, but alright, so equals, this is quicker, categories. Make sure it works. Categories, there we go. So now I'm going to do Control C. I'm going to paste it down to all those cells. Control C. I want to copy and paste to each of the potential exercise blocks underneath it. So everyone's going to have this drop down menu. I didn't have the border there, so I'm just going, so all I'm doing is just putting a border on there. Doing the time check. Alright, we're really good. So why I want to put these in each of these rows is because if I unmerge this block right here, so say I don't want this entire block to be one exercise, instead I want to put maybe 3 exercises in here, I will be able to do that, because right now the way it's set up, this one block is for one exercise and it is going to go to whatever this first one's going to be, if that makes sense. Alright, so now I'm going to pull up a category because I want to make sure this works. So I'm going to go squat, and we're going to go over here. So I want this list to reference this table. So whatever movements make up the squat, I want to show up in here as a drop down. So I'm going to go to data validation, list, and I want to go equals indirect, and our categories is in column B 13, so B13, and it shows up. So now I got back, front, split squat. If I go on my exercises here, I can add whatever else. So I can go goblet squat. I'd still put squatting in it, because if you get to lunges and all that stuff, if you consider that squat, it might get a little confusing to some athletes. So squat, now you see down there, same thing, works. Don't worry about fitting this to a cell or anything like that, because this is part of our hidden cells. It's not going to show up as printing. Alright, so that works. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to go data validation. I'm going to go to list equals indirect. Now I'm going to use B14 because I'm going to cell below it. Oh, indirect. The reason why I showed up that little error is because I didn't have anything here. So I'm going to go hinge. So make sure we got something in categories. Go back to data validation. I want list. List equals indirect B14. Barbell RDL. So now I'm going to close out these. I want to copy. Oh, didn't have to do that. So I'm going to copy this here, paste it down. And if I click on this, it's not going to open anything because I don't have anything selected in this cell. But if I go and select squat, you'll see how that works. I can hit delete. It's not delete anything, so you're fine to do that. Now I'm going to do the same thing I just did with categories. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. And make sure I go back and put a bold border on that. Alright, so now we want the URL to show up. So make sure we have these up here, squat. I'm going to go back. So I want the back squat URL to show up. So now here's we're going to type in a formula. So I'm going to go equals. We're going to do a vertical lookup, so V lookup. I want to look at the exercise, so D13. I'm going to put a $sign in front of it because I want it to stick to column D, D13, and I want it to indirect, so we're going to do indirect again. I'm going to use parentheses, underscore, parentheses, ampersand, B13. So what this saying is, I want to look up the value, I want to look up the URL for whatever is in D13, and D13 is going to be indirect of V13. Close it. Column index, I'm going to go 2 because the URLs is in the second column. And I want false. I want an exact match. Where's my typo? Oh, I'm missing a. So if you see an extra red there, it just means you got to have. So I was missing a parenthesis on there. So now if I close that out, you're going to see the URL pops up right there. Same thing. Don't worry about making the cell larger so you can see it. If you also want to select all this and do like we did with the tables, we can. So I just want to shrink to fit, and I take care of that. Just doing a time check. All right, still got like 3 minutes. I can also do this to exercise. Go down, alignment, because this first exercise is not the one that's going to show up for printing. Now what we're going to do is hyperlink this. So you can unmerge if you don't plan on using one exercise block. You'll be fine with that, all right? But I'm just going to keep it as is. So I'm going to enter a formula here. So we're going to equals. So now I want a hyperlink. So I'm going to hyperlink. And it's pretty straightforward. I want a hyperlink C and D. So I'm going to go $sign because I want it to be C13, C13, and D13. $sign. So if I click on here, it pulls up just so you see that it works. I'll even do another one so it's not a fluke. The internet's really slow right here. There's my back squat. Alright, so let's change the pattern. Let's go hinge. Single leg RDL. And do single leg RDL. Alright, you get it. It works. So now I'm just going to format this. I want this to be centered. I want the text to be black. And I want to remove the underline. And there we go. So now if I click on this, it's going to show up whatever's in this box. Alright, I got one more thing I want to go over before we run out of time here. So I'm going to add to this formula, right? So I'm going to go an if statement. If, so a logical test, if B13 equals blank, so if there's nothing in B13, I want it to be blank. Otherwise, I want it to hyperlink these. I'm going to add one more thing on there. If there's an error in any of this, if there's an error, I'm going to go comma at the end. I want it to be blank. So now if I go here, there's going to be nothing here instead of getting an NA or a spill or a reference in there. Same thing I could delete right here, and there's not going to be anything. So I can fix that right here. We'll do that quick like. Actually, I'll do it in the next video because I'm going to have to type up. So we'll continue that on the next series.